Viewers, welcome to the Regents today as we visit the home of Reverend Don Gikandi in Roiro, Rock Gardens Estate. Reverend Don Gikandi is the first minister in the Presbyterian Church with disabilities, and she has proved to be quite capable both in parochial ministry and in chaplaincy. So as we listen to her story, let us learn from the things that she has for us today. Welcome to her beautiful home in Roiro. So Reverend, say to the viewers and tell us what that entails to be a chaplain of schools in a whole presbytery.
Praise the Lord. It's an honor and a privilege to have you here with us today. Yes, as Reverend Dr. Karimi has said, I am Reverend Don Gikandi, or as I prefer to say, daughter of Gikandi and Wangui Kubai, and Christ is Lord of my life. And currently I'm the chaplain of the Kambui Presbytery institutions. The church in itself sponsors 17 institution schools, both primary, secondary, for the deaf, the hearing, and with us we also have private institutions. Currently we have 3, so the church has 17 and we have another 3, and I would say and counting. So maybe more will be added to our number, but that means we have a very wide base because those are thousands of pupils and students, male and female. So you can imagine we have the diversity in Kambui Presbytery.
You're doing more work than a parish minister when it comes to the number of people that you're reaching out to.
Yes.
And welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Reverend Don, can you take a moment and take us through the journey of your ministry? How you started the ministry? You are actually the first minister with disabilities in PCA, and for that reason, the viewers would like to know how you got into the ministry. What really prompted you to desire this ministry?
Allow me, Doctor, to say that I have been born and bred Presbyterian.
Yes.
On my father's side, I'm a 3rd generation.
Okay.
On my mother's side, I'm 4th.
Okay. So
technically, church has been around me. I was actually born on a Sunday after service.
That's interesting.
So it's been a journey, to be very honest, but most of it has been very personal in that growing up with Christianity around, I was taught to revere God and honor God. The challenge was, I grew up and realized I can't do everything like everyone else. In the house, I was taught never to pity myself anywhere I go. But that's not the way I was received out there. So there were challenges here and there. I am told I took my first steps just before my 6th birthday. So you can imagine being carried to school, being carried to church, being carried to everywhere. If I needed to wake up to go to the toilet, one of my parents will do that for me. So it was a challenge. And then growing up and wondering, I've been taught God saves, God heals. Well, why isn't He healing me, so to speak? So it has been a journey of learning that God uses people in very diverse ways, and He doesn't have to do it the way people call normal. And for me, it has been that journey of His will be done.
Yes.
You know, we say it so simply in the Lord's Prayer, your will be done on others, it is done in heaven. What if His will is not as simple as people would want it to be? So for me, it was that journey of, I come as I am. What can I offer to the Lord? I'm not offering God my disability, I'm offering God me. So if me comes with a disability, that's what I offer God. If me comes with whatever gender or whatever other challenge I come with, I offer God me. And that's what I was taught to do. And to stop wanting God to work in me the way He has worked in others.
Yes.
Because He created me. And He has a plan and purpose for me, for you. and for all our viewers and listeners today. Yes.
And it's also good to acknowledge that though there are some disabilities, we are also differently able. There are some those abilities and gifts that you bring into the ministry that may not have been there. And so we thank God for that. So, Reverend Dawn,
yes,
how did you come into the ministry? Or what really prompted you to be in the ministry? I know it's a call.
It's a call, yes. And you know, in our church, you have to even verify and
that you have that call.
Panel that the call is there. So, when I was younger, one time we were traveling. We loved traveling and singing hymns and going visiting places. I remember we were in a vehicle with my parents and siblings, and I said, I'd like to be a pastor. I never said it again. I said it once, never to repeat it again. Then one time, now looking back, when I was in class 8, I baptized some.
You baptized someone?
I wouldn't know, well, yeah, baptism, but I was holding a yellow cup. I'll show you the photo. My father had a camera that day. He captured the moment. One moment we are eating, the next I'm like, kneel down, I will baptize you. And
at home?
Yes. Right outside our house. And I actually poured water out of... He was a very close family friend, a brother to me. And I remember baptizing him that day. I'm not so sure he's the right liturgy, but yeah, he got baptized according to me. And now looking back, there have been pointers and things that the Lord was doing behind the scenes. So I come and go through a very depressing moment in high school. I was actually suicidal. I'm not proud of it, but now it has helped me serve even better. I have students and pupils with different challenges, even not valuing themselves. So you can imagine going all through that. My parents have been firm but very loving, so I wouldn't say there was a problem there. So some challenges are internal. So coming through all that, I wanted to do something very easy that did not involve people. So at that point, I wanted nothing to do with ministry. I thought, let me look for something that will keep me busy, give me money, and just keep me away from people. And I actually studied, though I never finished. I'm actually, in a sense, a dropout of sorts, because I left in second year. I was doing a degree in mathematics and a minor in computer science. Looking back, it wasn't the right decision. However, I was trying to run away and not facing my problems that I ought to have. So the Lord just closed all other doors, and I started getting involved in the church. I became a youth secretary, a youth chair. At one point, I even tried to fight it, even telling them, you know, I can't move as fast. Sometimes you need to go places. But they still elected me, and I told God, now here I am. You know what I can and cannot do, but I give you me, use me. So in that process, I started thinking, with all these questions the young people have, why don't I go and study? But I don't just give them stories, I give them something beneficial, something theologically sound. I'm Presbyterian anyway, so I need to take care of that. And I thought, let me go and study, and that's the way I ended up. But let me tell you, the day I went to apply, I actually ran away from theology and got into the business department. But God being God, that time we were financially challenged, and there was a scholarship on the theology side and not on the business side. And my parents kept on telling me, are you sure you're called to business? Then I decided, let me stop running away. Let me just study what I am being called to study. I was actually feeling the call towards theology, but I was giving all manner of excuses. So finally, God closed all the other doors. I studied with challenges along the way, wondering, will I ever get ordained? Will there be opportunities? But I told myself, let me first study. And my parents always told me, even though you become a business person, with education you'll do better business than someone who never went to school. So to cut a long story short, the Lord closed a lot of avenues. I tried to pull a Jonah running away from him, but he always brought me back. I ended up finishing my undergraduate degree at St. Paul's University, Limuru. And then shortly after that, there were interviews, very competitive, and the Lord just saw me through. In fact, the day I was called and told I was selected, I almost didn't believe it. I had, my worry was, how will I ever go to bury people? I come from Nyeri, where the Lord created good mountains. So you can imagine those challenges. But I have learned to serve with what I have, and to remember that the Lord uses whatever and whoever He wishes. So here we are.
Okay, so you were a private candidate.
Yes.
And then the interviews came after that.
Yes.
Imagining a situation whereby you went for the interviews with the elders and you told them, I have a call to the ordained ministry.
Oh, yes.
What was their reaction?
Actually, one found out after the interview and asked me, I hear you went for an interview.
Yes.
Do you want to be an evangelist or something? I was like, no. I actually went for the interviews to be a minister. There are those who are very excited, and there are those who looked at me like, poor thing, do you really think you'll get you'll get through? And to be very honest, the interview process was very competitive. I had my own doubts. There's a day I went and decided everyone else looked like a better candidate. But you know what I love about God, and we see it even in the scriptures, that the Lord does not look on the outward appearance. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7. So that whole process was very rigorous, and they can ask you anything and everything, including testing your temper to see how you would handle different situations. And whatever you know about the Lord and your service in the church. Fortunately, I had been a youth leader. Even in this presbytery, before Kambui and Ruiru.
Oh, great.
Yes. So now we ended up in the Ruiru side, but I was actually sent to school from Kambui Presbytery.
Oh, this where you are right now could be your home presbytery.
Yes.
Although now you're in Ruiru.
Yeah.
So when were you ordained?
I was actually licensed and ordained in 2014. I was licensed on the 16th of March, ordained on the 13th of April. I just celebrated 9 years. I take time to celebrate myself. I don't wait for my funeral. I celebrate myself any which way. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a good journey. But this is the first time I've actually celebrated without my dad. He just rested a few days to my 9th anniversary. But I celebrated with the rest who are close to me. Yes.
Now, you have mentioned about your dad, that I would have come to that point. I happened to have been at the funeral of your dad.
Thank you so much.
How that affected you in terms of ministry?
Well, to be very honest, when I realized he was gone, the first thing that I reminded myself was, you're somebody's daughter, so mourn. Number two, don't expect people will expect you not to be a minister, because some will see the minister in me. It has affected me in many ways, because I was daddy's girl. Ever since before I knew myself, he actually carried all of us into church when we were younger. It was a family tradition. He would take me many places to preach, just escort me. Whether he was alone or with mom, mostly they went together. So for me, I felt a void, an emptiness, and it has made me very aware of what grief is like. There's a difference between going through it for someone very dear to just hearing about it, or someone far away. So for me, it really hit me, and I took my time to mourn. And there are still days I wish he was around, but I thank the Lord that there is eternity. Yes, so it's been interesting and sad at the same time.
Well, God is good. He's going to continue strengthening you and using you to comfort others and to remind them that through it all, God is always faithful.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to the time after your ordination. Where were you posted after ordination? Was it in a parish or a...
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I was licensed and ordained in Juja Parish, the Rereka Presbytery. And then immediately after that, after the ordination in April, in May I reported to Bahati Matayas Parish, where I was a member as a small baby. Most people don't even remember. We stayed in Buruburu for a little while. I was actually born in Eldoret.
Okay.
Then at one point we needed to move, so for a while we stayed with a relative. And the nearest Presbyterian church back then, PCA Buruburu, was not there. So we used to go to Bahati.
Okay.
Even when we moved to Ruiru, we still, for about 3 years or so, we still went to Bahati Matayas. So that was where I was for my first slightly more than 7.5 years.
Wow.
Parochial ministry, yes.
Okay.
So, since I actually started on the 6th of May, 2014. And I officially left when they escorted me to this place, Kambui Presbytery, on the 20th of January last year. That is 2022.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, 7.5 years. That's
Yes.
a long time to be in a parish. Anyway, that's very good. So now, you were in parish ministry in Bahati. Now you are away from parochial ministry and parochial ministry.
Yes.
How do you find the difference between parochial and parochial ministry?
It is so diverse, it's so different. Because you see, like now where I'm at, I don't only deal with one denomination, Presbyterians. There are quite a number, but I have the joy of serving. It's very ecumenical, so to speak.
Okay.
So I have different denominations, different challenges. In the parochial work, I still had students, but I also had other people. Here I deal with parents and teachers also, but the bulk of my work is the learners. And I have to adjust my working hours. I was used to working late in Nairobi, but now I have to wait for them to finish their classes. So most of the counseling either happens over the weekend or after 4, 5:30, sometimes up to 9, 10 p.m., depending on the issues at hand and what the persons are going through. So it's very diverse. I was in Nairobi, this is more rural, so that is also another difference. And of course now I have more students than anything, but it's also a time where I feel that I've been given an opportunity to serve the young. I reflect on my youth days.
Yes.
So it's been amazing.
Now, I know, and you come to that, I know you've been involved in ecumenical work. And
Yes.
You come to that. Let me go back now. You're dealing with chaplains
Yes.
in institutions, which is again also ecumenical. How has your experience in ecumenical world?
Yes.
NCCK, World Alliance of Reformed Churches, or WCC?
Both. I've done a bit of both.
Okay.
So I've been privileged not only to serve in the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, I have also served with the World Council of Churches,
Yes.
WCC, and the World Communion of Reformed Churches,
yeah, they changed the
which is, yes, they changed from
World
work,
Alliance,
yes,
okay.
to, yeah, so now I have that privilege of the two in different settings around the world. They've actually given me opportunities
to travel
in all continents, different setups. So for me, it has been that, like for one of the things I was doing, we would look at the positive, the negative, and where we need to seek transformation. We actually used to say via positiva, via negativa, and via transformativa. So it has been an opportunity to work with people of different races, of different genders, of different denominations, and sometimes just getting mesmerized at how different we can be. You can read one verse and we can't even agree on how to interpret it. Yes. So it has been very humbling for me. And even realizing that language can be a barrier. I may want to communicate with you, But if someone is deaf and you don't know sign language, or someone has another mother tongue, sometimes those challenges are there. But let me tell you, you can always communicate love and concern, even though those other challenges are there. So it's been interesting.
Okay.
Yes.
So how has that experience in the ecumenical world helped you now while dealing with students from different denominations and religions?
Oh, it has been amazing. There's actually a time during one of those meetings, we were visiting several sites in the Promised Land, somewhere in Israel, Palestine, and the people who helped me, there was a Jewish rabbi and a Roman Catholic priest, and here I am, a Protestant, somewhere in the mix, and they honestly would take turns and help me along where I needed to be lifted, where I needed assistance. They would actually ask and help. So it made me look beyond the boundaries of denominations. Of course, we are comfortable with what we are familiar with, but it also makes us realize there are things that we may not see alike, but we can love each other regardless. So that has really been, for me, an eye-opener, and it has also made me very accommodative of people across board. And it has also made me realize there are things we may actually need to look further into and dialogue, because there are still things that need to be reformed and changed.
Yes. Yeah. Even in our own.
Oh yes.
In our own denomination.
Starting where we are. Yes.
Okay. So do you find the students identifying more with you as one of their own and one who understands their background?
Yes. In this sense, students, they remind me of me. The first few weeks some would be very welcoming, like the very outgoing ones, and there are some who would watch from afar and wait to hear reports or just to watch you. So with time, I actually wish I could divide myself into many parts because they all need my time and I'm just one. And with thousands of students and limited time, that has been a bit of a challenge. But I've also learned to get down to their level.
Yes.
One thing we are trained is that it doesn't matter all the theology, can people relate with you? Can they see God in simplicity? So we just sit. There are times we even play board games.
Okay.
With students, like in the office when we have. There are times we do group counseling. There are times we will draw, like when the young ones need to express themselves. There are times I just have to ask questions and be persistent, and sometimes just be silent. So every situation is different, and I've learned never to liken anyone to anyone else. In fact, I always even encourage them, don't compare yourself. There's something unique about you that is different from everyone else. But honestly, we are a wounded generation. Our thing these days is about being blameless and innocent children of God in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, amongst whom we shine as lights in the world. Okay, in short, we just say be blameless and innocent. That is Philippians chapter 2, verse 15. So the Lord has been walking a journey with us, and I have seen a lot of change, but there's still so much.
Yes.
There's still so much to go. Yes.
Share with us about your approach to ministry, especially when you're dealing with these young ones in chaplaincy.
A friend once told me I don't behave like a minister. I had two options: to get really offended or to be very amused. I chose to get amused, and I was like, thank you, and I'm actually glad that you don't think I'm behaving like a minister. I'm not saying I don't take our practices and procedures seriously. I do. But why should I just be any other minister? We have enough of that. So I decided, let me be me. my life, disability, and my parents and everything has taught me there's only one of me. So I decided I'll do things a bit different. One of the things I have decided to do is to look beyond the obvious. There are days I would sit in church and wonder, what is so-and-so going through? He looks very quiet and happy, but what is behind that smile? So for me, I decided to do a few things. One, take time to just ask someone, how are you? And how fine is fine? How are you? Fine, thank you. So how fine is fine? Is there anything you would want me to do for you? If it's possible, I'll try. If it's not, we'll pray about it and seek another way. So one of those things, and with time and spending time with people, I have realized that works. So one of the things I do is taking time to appreciate people. And we started a tradition with the Bahati, the PCMF, the Presbytery Chaplain Fellowship in Bahati, where at the end of our fellowships, we just have appreciation. Anyone would volunteer, whether self or another, usually someone else, you'd say, I love the way you drive, I love the way we went for a conference, you are my roommate, you are very kind, I love the way you just help us out, you help us serve the elderly tea, you never miss when we go to visit people, simple things. Someone was actually told, I love the way your quiet presence just feels comfortable. So I've always carried that with myself, not just at funerals. In fact, I think it's a loss at funerals. Why don't you appreciate your loved one today? No matter how complicated they are, I know they can be very complicated. Why don't we appreciate them? Just a day at a time, whether it's your child, and parents, allow me to say this, whether it's your own birth child or you've adopted or are bringing up, this is Africa, where we bring up the whole society with us, don't compare anyone. Whether it is your spouse, don't say somebody else's spouse is better. That's not your spouse, yours is right here, not very cooperative, I agree, but this is who you have. For the children, there are people out there, there are students, there are even grown-ups who are feeling so worthless because someone made a remark, someone made them feel like they couldn't compare. You know that one, you think you're helping your child, your cousin of uncle so-and-so scored an A, look at you, you're just bringing ease in this house. That will not make me get an A. So kindly tell me, you know, my potential is higher for me. My own potential, not compared to cousin so-and-so or uncle so-and-so and the neighbor right next door far away. It doesn't help. Just like the way you wouldn't want your child to say some other parent is better. So we've learned to appreciate ourselves, to not compare ourselves, and also to learn to let go and forgive. And I usually give my students bookmarks, and I've learned to tell them that forgiveness is not about someone asking, sorry, I hurt you. No. Forgiveness entails letting go of the offense, not because the offender deserves it or has asked for it, but because you want to be free. I want to be free. Free to move on, free not to carry baggage of bitterness, regret, of free not to be bound by what could have been. You know, if only I did this, if only that never happened. No, free from all that. Free to live afresh. So when I forgive, I'm not letting go of the prisoner. And if I am, I realize the prisoner was me. I'm not doing the other a favor. I'm doing me the favor. Regardless of who hurt me, whether it's a parent, a significant other, a boss, a coach, a teacher, or myself. Sometimes I need to forgive me. So I have learned that forgiveness is very powerful. And not just because, you know, the way we are told 70 times 7, so you forgive if you want to. Yeah, that's important, I agree. But when you look at it from, I'm doing this for me. This pain is eating at me. The weight is on me. And guess who will enjoy the freedom? Me. So I'm doing this for me. So that has also taken a bulk of my journey as I help others to see beyond. And sometimes I tell people, allow me to say this, though it may not sound very kind. if you walked in and found someone eating feces and they offered them to you, in your right mind, you wouldn't even get close.
Yes.
Whether they put all the delicacies inside, you would say, no, thank you. So if I cannot eat feces, knowing they are feces, why would I allow bitterness? It may not be tangible, but that is damaging.
Yes.
And if I've been damaged, this should be the last day. From today, I want to be free. So let go. That's also one of my approaches to ministry, letting go of the bitterness of all that. And another thing is not forcing God. You know, we are in a generation of, I call it microwave Christianity. You want it easy in, easy out. 5 minutes, we are done. You pray, and you know, sometimes the things we are told, push, pray until something happens. Then you're there getting mad at God. In fact, shouting harder lest he forgot or did not hear you. No, God heard you. Whether you said it in the silence of your heart, or you spoke it out loud, or you signed if you're deaf, God still heard you. But remember this, God doesn't work with your timelines. Yes. God doesn't do things the way you want him to. Otherwise, he wouldn't be God. Sometimes, in fact, nowadays, I'm telling people to get off the throne.
Yeah.
You know, we first God with our prayers. You know, God, this day I was telling God the way I fasted and prayed. Yes. And you need to do this. Then I'm like, wait, who's God in this situation? Yes. If he wanted to do it, he would have done it. There's even the permissive will of God. So if he's not doing it, it's either not in his will or it's not at his time.
Yes.
So I always tell people to remember when we want things to work well, to remember that God is following his plan and purpose and his time, not mine, not ours, technically. Let's get off God's throne. It has never been ours to occupy. He knows what he's doing and he doesn't need to consult. You know this Kamami and Kababa business that we want to be pampered and please. No, God is the Lord. We are just his subjects. Yes. He loves us as his children, but we cannot control him. So for me, it has also been a journey personally and others that remember God will not consult you. If he would have, my dad would be here today and other people I hold here.
Yes, it's true.
Possibly I wouldn't be where I am in my thinking, but in his plan and purpose, nothing goes out of hand. Even when we have to go through pain, he is still ever faithful, ever true, even when we do not understand. And reminding ourselves, his wisdom is way beyond whatever we could think. So those are some of the things that I have not permitted myself to forget. So appreciation, no comparison, and remembering that we need to forgive, and also remembering that God is sovereign. Whether I understand it, whether I like it, or not. Okay. Yes, and he can use anything. So, and disability has taught me that.
Okay. So now that you are in Chaplain, and I believe we have some others listening that are also involved in Chaplain, how do you do appreciation in the school setting?
Well, it can be complicated because honestly we have so many challenges. One of the simple things we do is you'll forever find me with a mirror. And not for makeup purposes. One of the things I've learned to do, and maybe I could show you, I've learned to allow students or learners or anyone really to have a look at themselves. Some of us, especially when we're in so much pain, we cannot even look at ourselves. So part of it is just look at yourself, forgive yourself, learn to speak words of, you're still amazing. You may not feel it right now, but there's something God is still doing. Sometimes I'm putting it simply, that could take a whole hour just to get someone to see beyond whatever they feel is not right. So getting to, because honestly, we need a lot of money in chaplaincy.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we are too busy building buildings. And sometimes we forget to build hearts. Last year I did a lot of buying interesting things, including innerwear. Because for some of our children, that dignity of, I have worn out clothes. We even bought sanitary towels for the girls. Their children have bought for mathematical sets. different things like those tiny things that they get to appreciate. Some, they just need a pen. So when I can, I give. There's a time I asked my friends to give me 50 shillings, and most would give me 100. So with that, I would go buy those things that we are in dire need of. But most of the things that we really need, thank the Lord, don't need money. Like me coming to say, I appreciate the way you do your program, or you're my friend. I don't need money for that. Even for me to wake up and say, I don't feel too good, but I know a brighter day is coming. So those small things, you know, with this economy and capitalism, I think everything was monetarized. Like, you need money for this, money to go wherever, money. And I agree, we need the finances. But what if we start with the non-monetary things?
Yes.
Yeah, so that has been part of my journey too, and finding value in people. Like I would tell students, write me a letter. Do you have a pen and paper? I can give you that. So I need you to write yourself a letter that you will read in 5 years. So dear me, or dear whoever you're called, as you read this, God willing, it is 2020, whatever year. I hope by this time you have completed, like a target. You have completed studies up to this point, or you're still pursuing. So things like those. So some of the things we need, yes, are monetary, some are not.
Okay.
It's looking beyond the obvious.
Okay. Now let's go back to your work as a minister. Now experienced in both parochial and non-parochial ministry, what is your personal preference?
Wow.
Out of experience.
Out of experience.
Yes.
Interesting. I've had good days and bad days in both. I don't know. I think I've learned to focus on where I'm at right now. Let's see. The beauty of chaplaincy is that nobody expects me to pay us, right? Although the flip side of that one, they forget we need materials. So at least I can focus on, I don't have to do a sermon on money, thank the Lord. So at least I get to focus more on students. Unfortunately, there are some decisions that are made and the chaplain is totally forgotten, unless there's a crisis in the middle of the night. And I've been called at very interesting hours when either the students have been involved in occultic things or some are just scared. We have had situations of different kinds. The beauty of all that is, especially now where I'm at, they know I care, definitely. And we come and deal one-on-one. And what you tell me remains here, and nobody will get to know. So both sides for me have been very, very instrumental. I'll be honest, there are days I miss parochial ministry, but there are days I'm glad I'm a chaplain. So I've had the two. So right now I'm honestly not sure what I would pick if I was asked to choose this very moment.
Okay.
But if I think of it before we finish, I'll let you know.
No, okay. Now, we are considering your situation as a differently abled minister. What are the various challenges that you have gone through?
There are many. Oh, there are very many, Reverend. They're extreme. One, mobility is quite a challenge. The terrain. And you know, sometimes when we are building, we forget we will get old sometimes. Or we want to build beautiful buildings for God, we forget the functionality of the place. Sometimes the floors are too slippery. We have put very slippery floors. So I have to do very many calculations. I always say I started fasting on Sunday, not to be religious. I fast on other days to get closer to God. I started fasting on Sundays to survive the day. That way I don't have to think, where is the nearest toilet? How accessible is it? I am in a village church where the people are treating the toilet for everyone. So the things that have been a challenge to me, I choose when and where to eat. And that is a challenge in Africa. You know, we welcome you with a cup of tea, which I've never taken in my life, but that is my parents not introducing me to tea. So you can imagine I have to think of accessibility. Sometimes I've had to be lifted and I would prefer to walk, but when I look at the terrain, I'm like, it's not possible. So it's been very humbling for me. Another thing I've come to appreciate is light, especially for our deaf. You know, at night I can yell at you when you're in this room and I'm in the next, but if it is dark for the deaf, we cannot communicate. Or you know, the way if I'm turned against you, you can talk to me. But for the deaf, yesterday I was with one of our teachers. We gave her a lift, and you could actually tell it's very hard because we are both facing in front, so I have to turn so that I sign as I'm not the best in signing, but I do sign, and I'm glad I'd taken that as a course. And there are some things that we take for granted that have disability has taught me, and to even think beyond the obvious. What I cannot do, I am forced to think beyond. Is there a way I can make this easier? Either by talking or by mobilizing funds or just deciding to be a voice for the voiceless. So there have been such cases for me, but every situation is different. So sometimes I've had to be carried. And there are days some people have just been unkind to me. Like, hey, seriously, now you're a menace. I'm like, yeah. And not just that. So discrimination comes in many ways. I've been discriminated because I'm female. I've been discriminated because I'm single. There are also people who take me very seriously because of that, because they realize. Actually, one time I was actually told, we've realized you're not a class person, you relate with anyone, no matter their situation or their place in life. So what I've decided to do, if discrimination comes, I cannot force someone to like me. I don't know who said this. You cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from making a nest. Yes. So I've decided whatever comes my way, I will make the most of it. One of my best mottos I found in Kambui Presbytery is one of our schools, their motto is, above challenges shall we rise. And I thought that was beautiful. So yeah, this is a challenge I have. Life has offered me lemons. Can I make lemonade and drink it, or can I lift another? So for me, this is my limitation. First of all, God is not limited, it's me who's limited. Is there a way I can serve regardless of this limitation? So it has been one of those challenges of mobility, of speed, and also some things we find very simple. You know, like we do a procession and recession, and nobody goes at your pace. They've just gone. So I either tell them at the start of, before we leave, or I just let them go and decide I will go at my pace. We will not run. So, but also people who, like my mother would make sure if she's with someone who needs a slower pace, she stands behind so that this person sets the pace. We had a certain lady like that in our congregation. Yeah, my home church is PCM Embley, so that's where I go and, well, whenever I'm free, which is almost never. And that's why I was a youth leader for many years as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now looking back and going through the journey of ministry and experiences, do you have, or have you ever regretted joining the ministry?
Yes. I have to be honest. But I'm all about honesty. Yes. I've even ever written, I think, 2 resignation letters.
Seriously? So to the Presbytery?
Yes. And there's one time the Lord asked me a question I didn't like. You can resign from the Presbyterian Church of East Africa, but can you resign from me? I was like, Lord, this is not fair. I was very wounded. In fact, at one point, I had decided I will I think I get myself into trouble. I had one of those times, actually, one time I was in Bahati. The other one was as I was transitioning from Bahati to this place. So one time I attended a meeting, and though nobody says it, there's this feel or aura of like you're not welcome, so to speak. Nobody says it, but someone doesn't have to chase you verbally for you to feel unwanted. So I thought, I'm not forcing myself here. I didn't even call myself. So this Lord who called me, he knows that I'm feeling frustrated. So I actually sat down and started typing. Then a minister friend of mine called and asked, where are you? Which is a normal question we ask each other in the queue, somewhere in the Lord's work. And I told her, I'm actually in the office. She asked me, are you with someone? I was like, no. What are you doing if you're alone? It was around 8 at night. I was like, I am busy typing. You couldn't go home and do it later? And I told her, actually, I'm writing a resignation letter. My poor friend, who was in Nyeri, is like, don't do it. I'm like, I'm done. I am tired. I am actually going to do it. The Lord can do with me whatever he needs after this. So she called a friend. She tried to think of the people nearest. So one of them just came, and she's usually very polite, would knock and wait for coming. That day she knocked and ushered herself in. Then I realized this one has been told to come check up on me. So I actually finished writing and told them now, unfortunately the offices of the Presbytery have closed today, this day, but I will do two things. I will print it out and wait for January. It was that Christmas 2-week break, and I can send an email. The email can be arriving as we wait. So it was that struggle of this is too much for me to bear. So there have been those many, but those are two instances I can remember writing a resignation. Clearly, I did not resign. That's why I'm still in serving. But it was not easy. There were days I would feel, I think the Lord should have called me to something else. But then looking back, in retrospect, I think I was feeling disgruntled and wanting a more comfortable life. But yet, he never promised me a smooth run. But he promised to never leave me, nor forsake me. So it has been that one of looking beyond. Frustrations are here. Yes, not everyone will like you. Whether you don't have to like me, but I want my Lord to say, well done, good and faithful servant. And if he planned for me to go through this challenge, so be it. So there are days that will be good, there are days that will be bad, but I've learned to take it in my stride. So there are resignation, there are days people have openly opposed me. Then later I came to say, you are right. I was like, you should have said it back then. But you were very cowardly. But it's okay. So I've learned to forgive them and also forgive myself.
Wow. I've learned a lot of things from you today, Reverend Dawn. One key issue is the statement you started with, not my will, but thy will be done. And this is a very important statement for all of us in the ministry, whatever we are, even in life, learning to do the will of God, because the will of God is normally and most of the time in conflict with the will of us as human beings. And then at some point you talked about the pursuit to build buildings and not building hearts. That's strong. That speaks to us. We're not building huts, but we've rushed to build buildings. So we have all these magnificent buildings, and we wonder whether the people who worship there have huts that are as magnificent as those particular buildings. And then there is also something that I think the viewers and the designers of the structures that we have need to learn about the flaws. And this, especially in this country, we have buildings and pursuit to have all these structures, we have failed to recognize that the society has some persons with disabilities, like those that are on wheelchair, and the buildings accessible, and even the public transportation. So it's good to open up our minds. You know, you may not be rigid in the definition that we had when we were starting the program, but now you also are rigid in your own way. Rigid when we started was for retired ministers, but then you are rigid in your own way. Some of the things that you challenge us to do and to learn from you are very important, teaching us that disability is not inability. You are able differently, and you're doing a very good job with the students. I didn't even know that you have studied sign language.
I had before my before my BD, my Bachelor of Divinity, I did sign language. Yes. I think the Lord knew. The Lord did know. So
you're not just instrumental in the ministry in this way of a full-time minister, but you're also again doing something else, which is it's a career in itself. Interpreting for those people that cannot do that. So, above challenges, shall we rise?
Oh, yes.
That's an important lesson. Above challenges, shall we rise? Now, Reverend Don, I'm very happy to sit with you. I know we have discussed and we met previously and talked, but this has been a very important session, not just for me, but also for the viewers. Thank you for creating time for us to share with us and opening up this beautiful... What is this about all these photos on the walls?
That's a good one. Many things. Yes. I usually think to myself, if I was not a minister, I think I would have been a photographer or something close to that. I love memories, visible. Like I look at a photo and so many memories flood. So I decided, I also love giving photos.
Yes, I cherish the one you gave me.
Yes, I also love texting. So I do a text with a Bible verse every day and a hymn. I love hymns. My father loved hymns, and my mother is a preacher, so I think I took a bit of them, both of them. So for me, photos tell a story. In fact, I do a then and now. I take a photo from back then when, and a recent one, and just remind myself this journey. He's been all along my pilgrim journey. There's a hymn that starts, the Kiswahili is born of sehemu yangu, though my everlasting portion, more than life to me. So for me it's that journey. That's sign language, sorry. That's journey in sign language. For me it's a journey, and looking at these pictures, they remind me of a story. Since my 10th day of life, that's the earliest picture I have, when I was really small, to this very day, I try to walk a journey with myself, and I would want to make an appeal to anyone who is born, which is all of us, that remember, first of all, challenges will come, and number two, disability may find you. We age. Where you used to jump, you may fall or slip. So kindly make a building that can accommodate everyone. Beyond the aesthetic, we need beautiful places. But if someone can say he'd rather go to a bar because his wheelchair can get there, but not to a church, what's the point of that building? So even as we make our schools, because those are our children. My child should not have to go very far because it's not a disability friendly as in language place nearer. Please, let's consider there's no special world. Let's make this world a place for everyone, and then we accommodate each other and try to make everyone know that indeed they belong. So our building needs to reflect God and His bringing us together. Our language needs to do the same, and even within ourselves. So may the Lord help us as a church, as a community. And yes, I'll be retired in 25 years. So
You're still far away from retirement.
It's just silver jubilee. Another 25 years. But between then and now, let me say it is an honor and a privilege to even be invited to the Legends. In my own small way, to share this platform with other great servants of God. and humble servants of the Lord. And thank you for allowing the Lord to use you in this way. We are totally privileged about this, because indeed these voices need to be heard now, not just in our eulogies, here and now. So I was very grateful, and I was hoping to tell you that, and look at the way the Lord works. He brought you to me, and you're welcome again and again for whatever it is that I can do with you as we learn to look at our different perspectives in life, and as we serve, because there's a reason and why the Lord has given us this time and this season. So for me, let's wait and see. You know the way they say, watch this space. Let's wait and see what the Lord will do in and through us. He can either, I came to realize we take our covenant vows very lightly. That let me be exalted for you or brought low for you. I may have all things or have nothing. We say it like we are reciting this, that all these things for the honor and the glory of God. If he says so, I have a wristband that has one of my favorite and worst verses, Deuteronomy 32:39, that says, I am the Lord, I am He, there is none other than me. I kill and I give life, I wound and I heal, and there is none that can take you out of my hand. So the Lord will wound you, the Lord will heal you, the Lord will give you life, and someday He will take it away, but well, eternity awaits. So for me, it's a reminder every day to seek the Lord. The other band was for PCMF, Bahati. It was just reminding us to say a prayer. As you walk, as you talk, as you just say a quick prayer. We are the prayer defense team. So whatever you can do, don't forget. Before you lose this life, use every moment for God. Yes, and we will hear Him say, well done, good and faithful servant.
Wow. Thank you very much, Reverend Dole, for your time. May the Lord bless you for giving us all that you've given us. Viewers, thank you for watching, and see you in the next episode. Remember, above challenges shall we rise. May the Lord bless you.